good? What's good, sports world? Welcome to Late Night Sports. Once again, I'm your host, Mookie Hawkins. And on the ones and twos, we got DJ Firestarter in the building. My guy, Andre the Torch Robinson, Challenger Community News is in the building. And we have Fan Base Network's own Andrea's up in the building. What's up, Big A? You know, we got my guy, Justice General, who's going to be joining us very shortly. But I know that, Bill's Mafia is still in mourning, still in disbelief of what has happened over the weekend. A lot of people were making plans to be in Atlanta right now. But like Joe Burrow said, they better go get those refunds because that isn't happening. And right now, we are in debacle of what do the Bills do next? I mean, obviously, this team is going to look different than what it has been in the past couple of seasons. So that's going to be one of the biggest topics that we're going to chime in on. The biggest thing concerning what do you do with guys like Tremaine Edmonds, Devin Singletary, Jordan Poyer. Jordan Poyer has been given, social media a little buzz today about it's been rumors that he liked a tweet about him being in Miami, and I definitely have some insight about that. And I'm back. So first and foremost, nobody's assigned any contracts. All right, the season is not even over for anybody to be signing any type of contract. So if you see anybody with breaking news that a contract has been signed, that is definitely fake news. Okay, Bills don't even know what their salary cap is going to be like. So, we're going to start this thing off with ladies first. And, so Andrea, just give us a complete rundown on how you felt about the Bills blowout versus the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday.
Definitely don't feel great about it. I'll start with that. I thought maybe after the first quarter a little disappointing, but I always tell myself we're a second half team. We can come back. Maybe it'll get better. And then at the half, it wasn't really looking too up. So third quarter was really the make it or break it point for me. And when they didn't turn it around, then I knew it was definitely a lost cause. I mean, from the start, there were a lot of things that didn't look like they were right to me, a lot of things going wrong. But yeah, still pretty, I guess disappointed is the right word. I'm not really mad. I'm not like upset, but just kind of disappointed in the overall outcome of the game for sure.
Absolutely. And, I didn't know how the fire starter feel about that. But let's let's recap that, Torch. Sunday, I mean, you still feel the same way of your comments that we mentioned on Monday, or is it something else that came to mind that you want to bark on?
To be honest with you, I still feel the same, and actually, I feel even a little bit more stronger. As I, examined that thing, I got my lab coat right here. They said Dr. Robinson, Dr. Robinson. So Dr. Robinson went and surgically, went into this game, and I noticed a couple things. Stephon Diggs being angry. I know why now. I know 100% why. His last completion in that game was 13 minutes into the third quarter. He went damn near a whole half without a reception. What?
Yeah.
Since when? When does that ever happen? Like, that's just crazy beyond belief to start. I mean, 28 minutes plus no Stephon Diggs. You didn't hear not a completion of Stephon Diggs. First down. You didn't hear none of that, right?
No.
Lifeless, first and foremost.
None of that happened.
Then number two, once again, we talked about organizational moves, man. And once again, the organizational move bites the dust again, or bites the. Yeah, the organizational moves is crazy. I mean, I just don't understand. You got Roger Sappho and Quisenberry, who are run blocking linemen, on a team that doesn't run the football. I mean, they ran the ball 11 times. Spencer Brown is a total liability at this point. Did Deion Dawkins have his best season? Would you say that the Buffalo Bills regressed in some aspects?
In some aspects, I'll say a lot of aspects. And again, I'm not really going to fault the players on this. I'm going to fault Ken Dorsey. I mean, The regression comes into place when you have a green, inexperienced offensive coordinator who, I thought that, being underneath Dable, that, he would have some sort of idea on how to do things a little bit better than Dable. Because I really wasn't a fan of how Dable called plays. But man, I miss the shit out of Dable right now. Just because he knew his players. He'd been around those guys. So when you got a coach that's really familiar with the personnel he has and understands how to play those guys to their strong suits, then it's confidence, and it makes a coach more comfortable, and it gives him that confidence to really experiment things or take things to the next level. Dorsey, I just don't have a clue to where Dorsey was going with this offense. I mean, they talked about in the beginning of the season, oh yeah, we want to have more run after the catch, but you can't have more run after the catch if you're not even throwing the ball short for the guys to run with the ball. Everything was just completely deep, like 20 yards or better. It wasn't too many pass plays where they were short, and that's the Bills were just one dimensional for the start. Brandon Bean came out, and he did say that they didn't have a complete game, like really all season long, and that's a major issue. I mean, are you going to continue with this thing? Because you're going to get the same result next year with the same coaches. So I'm not sure what they're going to do, offensively with Dorsey. Are they going to bring a run game coordinator in to help him, extenuate some run packages or have better run design? Because the run game was obsolete at best, and when they did run, again, they did look like one of the better teams in the NFL when they focused on running the football. You look at the Chicago Bear game when you focused on the run because your pass game was struggling and they were losing to the damn Chicago Bears, for crying out loud. So you come out running the ball, you win the game, you control the game, and it helped your pass game. And you had two running backs down there had over 100 yards apiece. We did not see that type of run style the rest of the season. And it was in the elements. It was cold as shit. And, the Bills did not take that recipe, at home, with the snow and with it being cold. So it's a lot of questions to be answered on what's next with this Buffalo Bills team. But I mean, it starts with the coaching. I mean, we know it starts up front as well, but if the coach can't play the players to their best of their abilities, then you gotta make a change there, or help the guy out, or put. It's the same thing about a franchise quarterback. You got to put the proper pieces around that quarterback for that quarterback to play for us to his full potential. And as a coordinator, you got to put the best support staff around him so he can be the best coach he can be for those players. I don't know. I mean, he do have Mike Shula there. I just don't understand why wasn't no balance in the run game, and you got two solid running backs on your roster that you barely even use. So that's my questions with Dorsey. And if the Bills don't have an answer for that next year, then let's just stop talking about them being a championship caliber team. They're just a playoff contending team at this point, not a championship caliber team. So that's what I still think about this Bills team, and we're not going to get those questions answered until after the Super Bowl is played and the combine. The combine is a little quicker than usual, which I like, because we'll start getting our answers on what direction the Bills are starting to go into. So with that being said, the Bills have over 20 free agents this year, whether restricted or unrestricted. Andrea, free agency. Who is a player that you think that the Bills need to bring back, and why?
Who I think they need to bring back. I mean, I would love if the Bills would bring Jordan Poyer back, right? I'm pretty sure everybody would, but I mean, maybe not, maybe not, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think he's coming back. But I think Tremaine Edmonds is definitely a big one. Bean touched on it the other day in his presser as well. Like, he's young, he has, like a ways to go, and I think he would definitely be and continue to be an important part of the Bills defense. So assuming Poyer's not really in the question, I would definitely stick with Tremaine.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Torch, what are your thoughts? Who you think the Bills should bring back in free agency?
So if I had to assess the situation, I get it. There's people they say, Jordan Poyer. That's fine and dandy. I mean, just remember that Jordan Poyer's 31, injury prone, and is wanting 17 million, or less, the upper 13 to 17 million, if I'm not mistaken, Mookie, on this next deal, next contract. Um, Tremaine Edmonds, that's going to be a tough one because Roquan Smith got paid. Obviously, that's gonna be tough. The linebacking market right now just got reset. So that's gonna be tough. Von Miller, let me just tell you about this. And I know a lot of people think that he's a luxury pick, but obviously it proved that he wasn't just a luxury pick when your Buffalo Bills team goes from top 5 in sacks to bottom 5 in sacks when he's gone. He is definitely a key piece that they definitely need to make sure that he stays. If you're not interested in Jordan Poyer, what's up with Micah Hyde? I'm not understanding. Is that a package deal, Mookie? Because I know they're the 1-2 tandem, the best 1-2 tandem in the league, Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. If Jordan Poyer walks, is Micah Hyde walking too? Like those are some things that need to be thought about. And if you're not doing that, then I don't know. I honestly, I don't know who you really keep. I mean, on the team right now. I mean, the star wise, obviously they signed Matt Milano, but I really don't have a name, to be honest with you. I don't.
Well, you got potential. We know Tremaine Edmonds' contract is up. We're just going on the defensive side of things. Poyer contract is up. Dane Jackson is also a restricted free agent, being the 7th round pick. So when you look at those 3 guys, just about everybody else on the starting defense is under contract. Micah Hyde is under contract, and I think he's set to make anywhere between 6 to 8 million next year. He's in the last year of his deal. Jordan Poyer, he's looking anywhere between the 11-12 million dollar range. And you're on the wrong side of 30, being 32 years old. He finally got his all pro nod, rightfully deserved. I think that Jordan Poyer has been one of the top safeties in the league for the past 4 years, easy, with the Buffalo Bills. And he's finally starting to get his just due with Micah Hyde. But in football, there are no friends in football. There are no friends. And this is the nasty part of the deal, is the business side of it. And guys want their money, especially when they're towards the end of their career. They want all their coins. So I respect Jordan Poyer wanting all his coins, because he earned that spot. He definitely showed his value as a Buffalo Bill. This is probably the only game that he lost all season in a Bills uniform. And it took the playoffs for that to happen. But yeah, he is a bit nicked up. Hyperextended elbow, broken ribs. He basically played with a torn MCL. So he definitely showed that he's a true warrior and left it all on the line. Possible concussion in his last game as a Bill walking off. So, here's a guy that, gave this organization all he has. And I hope they can come to some medium, decision on, running it back at least one more year just to see. But, again, he'll be 32 this year. And, a guy like that, he wants all his coins. He at least wants some guarantees to know that, the money is going to be there for him late in his career, because he's basically is on his way out. So I'm not sure if the Bills is trying to, go youth movement with that direction. Again, Micah Hyde, coming back from a neck injury, 1 year under contract. We're not sure. We're still some uncertainties with that. I think that the Bills do all they can to bring back Tremaine Edmonds, because again, you cannot let a guy like Tremaine Edmonds leave it's like it's just like the Bills just wasted 4 years, and they wasted a first round draft pick. You know, you waste so much draft capital if you let Tremaine Edmonds walk. You drafted him 16th overall off so many moves we made to get that pick. You know, remember we had Cordy Glenn. We ended up trading Cordy Glenn in that pick to the Cincinnati Bengals to obtain that 16 pick, you know, to get Tremaine Edmonds. So the Bills always have this model: draft, develop, and re-sign. So, you know, maybe Tremaine, you know, he's developing late. Let's not forget that he was 19 when the Bills drafted this guy. All right. And so right now he's what, 23 years old, 23, 24 years old. Still has a lot of football left ahead of him. So I think that the Bills will do all they can to try to re-sign Tremaine Edmonds. If anybody on this roster, Tremaine Edmonds is definitely, you know, the guy that's next in line to be re-signed. And it would be foolish for the Bills not to, because it makes them look bad if they're not able to re-sign a guy that you draft in the first round. That's just a complete waste of a draft pick, if you ask me. So I think Tremaine Edmonds somewhere around that 11 to $15 million range. I don't think, you know, he's going to get Roquan Smith money. He's not a Roquan Smith, you know, so we can't look like, oh, he deserved Roquan Smith money. He's not Roquan Smith. You know what I mean? So, you know, anywhere between 11 to 15 million. The Bills could also look to franchise tagging, but franchise tagging a linebacker right now starts at $15.5 million. So you better off re-signing a guy, you know what I mean, rather than slapping the franchise tag on him for that 1 year. Dane Jackson, if they do decide to give him a offer, it'll be 2.2, about $2.5 million of a restricted free agent deal, and we all know a team can match that, or you know, whatever the case may be with that. But I think Christian Benford, you know, who the Bills did draft at corner, I think they convert him to a safety next year. So you don't have to worry about the pressures of Kaiir Elam not starting and going back and forth with that. Maybe, you know, they do sign Dane Jackson, just a guy that they can sign at a bargain deal, and, you know, keep him around because he knows the system. He's a starter for them as well. So Edmonds and Jackson will probably be the guys that I think that they look at first on re-signing. But I think that they're gonna, you know, they're gonna try to get a deal with Poyer, but Poyer's not gonna go for that. You know, Poyer wants his money, and you know, rightfully so. Poyer's my guy, and he would hate to go to my. Well, I would say he would hate to go to Miami. He lives in Miami right now, but he would hate to go to Miami because he knows everything about the Bills in and out. So yeah, better try to do something, because you don't want to pay a guy. You don't want to play against a guy that knows your complete system throughout, in and out, blindfolded. That won't be a good situation for the Buffalo Bills, because he's definitely going to entertain the thought of playing for the Dolphins, especially if the price is right. So they better look at that as consideration as well. Justice, glad of you to join us. Really didn't miss too much. We were talking a little bit about, you know, the sentiments of you know, the Bills blowout. You know, how they got their ass kicked, and you know, your thoughts on that. And you know, we just dove into free agency a little bit. Who do you think the Bills would resign? You know, as far as free agents, who do you think the Bills is going to have first on the radar?
Yeah, I'm a Tremaine Edmonds guy personally. I just feel like he is playing at an extremely high level right now. McDermott even said it. This is his best year as a pro, which I agree. And when you have a 24, 25-year-old playing his best football, and it's his first contract, and he's young enough to where he could even maybe sign a third contract, and he's, sitting in the middle of your defense. He's become a leader in the locker room. He's just not maturing into, the football player he's going to be. It makes sense to have that guy a part of your, repertoire going forward, versus a guy like Jordan Poyer, who I would also love to keep, but he's all pro po. You know what I mean? He's all pro po for a reason. He has played at an extremely high level for a long time. He has been the focal point of our defense. Him and Mike Micah Hyde, excuse me. And he's a little long in the tooth. You know what I mean? It's nothing against him. I think that he deserves, top 5 safety money, and he's probably going to get it. So, hey, if I'll never be mad at a person going and getting a coin, especially if you worked your whole life to go get it. It's just that I don't know if the Bills are going to be able to afford that price tag. And I genuinely hope they do, though. It wasn't fun getting smacked around in the championship game. Jordan Poyer was only one of the only guys who was putting forth an effort at all. And he often, like, we see that a lot. He's one of the guys that brings the juice and, the energy. So I would love to keep Jordan Poyer, but if I had to pick between them, I would pick Jermaine Evans personally.
Torch, what is the franchise tag for a safety?
Wow, the franchise tag for a safety has got to be at least 12 million?
Or 12 million?
At least 12 to 13 million?
Trying to figure out
around 12 to 13 million.
Maybe they could franchise tag Jordan Poyer and re-sign Tremaine Evans. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Yo, Mook, you was talking about signing people, though. You was talking about signing people, right? Free agents?
Yeah, we ain't get that far. We talk about.
Oh, okay. I thought you had. I was about to say if you got that far.
We talking about right now. Who would you keep on this Bills roster as far as free agency go? And offensively, defensively, there are some free agents. I mean, offensively, there are some free agents in Devin Singletary, but we'll get into that at a later date. But the big names is basically Edmonds and Poyer. Those are the two big names on who the Bills keep. Singletary's running in third with that. When you look at Brandon Beane's presser and what he basically said about Nyheim Hines, gives you the impression that they're going to allow Devin Singletary to test the market. And you got, the bell count and James Cook. But they do need a power back, and that's where we can dive into other possible free agents. So, might as well start that off since you brought that up, Torch. So now, with that being said, who would you try to go after in free agency? Because Brandon Beane made it clear that, again, don't expect no Von Miller type signings. So, I mean, he did say that the year before, then they end up finding some money and bringing in Von Miller. But I think he's telling the truth this time. So, who do you think that the Bills should cover as a free agent coming in from another team?
Man, listen, there's major dysfunction at the junction with this offensive line. I'm going straight to the streets. I'm going straight to the streets of the 716, and I'm getting my guy Justice General who came in here how you living with the shirt, living color shirt right now. I got Tom and Jerry on it. I got my man Justice General in the building. I'm definitely getting him now. This message, you know what I mean? You did come in living color though, man. I'm like,
he's dead serious, y'all. Yo, get Brandon Beane on the horn.
Right, get him on the horn, man. We was at the joint. We was at Highmark Stadium, and my man was making holes through crowds, man. I'm running behind him like a running back, feeling real good, man. You got to get that guy down there, man.
Mauler.
Absolutely, a mauler. Somebody who's going to pass block and run block, man. That's what they need to get. They need to get somebody who's going to pass block and run block. I don't know who's out there on free agency yet that's open for that, but that better be their first priority is that, whether it's in the draft or you get somebody in free agency. That better be the first.
Free agents. We ain't dove into the draft yet. We're gonna get to the draft in just a minute, but we're talking about potential free agents. Who would you look, or what position? Let's just say that. What position would you look for that the Bills entertain in free agency first and foremost?
O-line, easily. O-line easily. And I'm actually looking up some names right now to see if there's anybody who's interesting in free agency that plays at the O-line position. Particularly Spencer Brown's position. Okay. Particularly him in his position. Yeah.
Well, I
particularly
mean,
left tackle. Okay.
let's keep in mind we ain't got no money now, so a big name lineman, that's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? That's wanting some money.
Oh, you ain't got no.
I didn't think
You ain't got no
Questenberry
money.
did a bad job. I don't think Questenberry did a bad job. You know what I mean? When Brown didn't play and Questenberry was in there, I don't think Questenberry did a bad job. I spoke with him and he wouldn't mind, running it back. But again, he's going to test free agency, see what his market value is, and see if teams are interested in bringing him in as a potential starter. So it all helps when you playing on a Super Bowl contending team. A lot of other teams get the opportunity to watch and say, okay, he was a part of this roster. So, yeah, we need those type of players in. But, Andrea, what do you think as far as position wise, Bills need to address in free agency? It might.
Sorry, I forgot I muted myself when I wasn't talking. Yeah, but I feel like it's hard to pinpoint just, one position. Like,
Go ahead, shoot. Let it all ring out.
oh boy, I don't even know where to start. I mean, I feel like they need help in a lot of places right now. I mean, especially with, Poyer probably leaving, Tremaine's questionable. I mean that like those would definitely be important spots to fill, right? If we're losing both of them. But then on the offensive side, we definitely are going to need some help there as well. So I don't know what I would even say is the most important one right now. I feel like we just need a lot of help all around at this point.
A lot of help, right? Like, only position I would say that is safe is the quarterback position. I mean, even cornerbacks are safe, but they need depth at that position because coming into this year, you only have Kyrie Elam, Christian Benford, and Tre'Davious White. Dane Jackson is a restricted free agent. Cam Lewis is a free agent. So, I mean, okay, you do have Tyron Johnson, who's a nickel. He's slotted as a corner. You do have some Randall, but still, um, he's a backup to Taron Johnson. So a lot of holes to fill, with this Buffalo Bills team, right now and coming in 2023. Um, I would think free agent wise, I would do first and foremost, I'll address the running back situation. And if the price is right, how about a guy like Leonard Fournette? We struggled in short yard situations, and I've been trying to get Leonard Fournette here for the past 3 seasons. And and look what he did when he went to Tampa Bay, won them a Super Bowl, and he continues to make plays. Big physical running back who can catch the football. Maybe we bring him here and combine him with James Cook and Naeem Hines. You got Naeem Hines, who's probably going to be your third down back, and then you got James Cook, who is going to be basically your bell cow. But if you bring a guy in like Leonard Fournette, you bring in more physical guy that's going to get you those tough yards that the Bills couldn't get on 2nd and 2s, 3rd and 3, stuff like that. You need a closing back, a back that that can close the game for you. They brought Von Miller in to close the game out, with his pass rushing abilities. You need a closer running back that you can hand the ball off to, and he can keep the sticks moving and keep the clock running. All right, and I think Fournette still has a lot of gas left in the tank. He also can protect your quarterback and pass pro, being a big physical back. So that would be probably my first guy I'm going to go and try to address. Is he just check his temperature, see where he at, money wise, because again, the Bills don't have a lot of money to be bringing in running backs, but will he be able? Will he be cool with coming in? With a few, for a couple million, if you will, on a 1 year, $2.5 million deal, something like that, a bargain deal, just to still keep playing for a contender. Some people would rather say, I got to go get my bag. I got a Super Bowl ring right now. Let me just go get my bag. But Once you start winning Super Bowls and stuff like that, it becomes contagious. You always want to have yourself in contention. So um, I think Leonard Fournette would definitely fit the mold of what we're trying to do. He definitely would shed some light in our run game because, again, we need help in short yard situations, especially when we get inside the red zone. So I think that would be a key part, a key start to the Bills on the offensive side by going after a guy like Leonard Fournette. On the defensive side, um, it's just all over the place on the defensive side, and it really do start up front. But as far as free agents go, I think we need another free agent linebacker. I think that the Bills bring Tremaine Edmonds back, but I think we need another free agent linebacker. You know what I mean? Somebody that's slightly in that 28, 27, 28-year-old range. Somebody that's been around, you know what I mean, for at least good 4 or 5 seasons that fits this scheme. You know what I mean? Not no little linebacker. We need a guy that's tough, that can cover and can, be a little bit physical. So I think a seasoned veteran at linebacker in the free agency would do the Bills are pretty good. So those two, I would try to address in free agency. Try to get them for bargain deals as a nasty linebacker. Let's not forget we still have, Terrell Bernard, who the Bills drafted last year. Next year will be his second year, but we still need a savvy veteran. Tyrell Dobson, contract is over. Tyler Medikevich, contract is over. AJ Klein, contract is over. All right, so the Bills have a lot of holes to address, especially if you don't bring Tremaine Edmonds back. So now you're really only down to one linebacker, and you still don't know what Terrell Bernard can give you with only having 1 year underneath his belt. So I feel that a seasoned linebacker will do the Bills justice, and a seasoned power back in the Leonard Fournette type will do the Bills justice. So those are two positions that I think that the Bills need to address in free agency. But there is a draft, right? And that's another whole of discussion. Now, I don't know if anybody been doing a research on this Bills draft status. They pick at 27, and that could be anything. That could be, like Andrea said, there's a lot of holes that these guys got to fill, at that position. But picking in the first round, you always want to get a guy that can be an immediate impact. And, not necessarily that being a lineman, but you want a guy that can definitely make an impact. And that's more or less of a skill position. So, Andrea, what were your thoughts with the Bills picking at 27? What position would you draft at 27? Or do you have a name, or is there a guy, if you did any type of research in the college game, that you think the Bills should go after?
I haven't done research on the specific players yet as to who I think, would be the best person for them to draft. But in terms of positions, we talked about, maybe needing a safety, maybe needing someone on the defense, or, even a wide receiver. So I feel like, 27's not a great pick. So, like, maybe wide receiver, or just maybe some, really good defensive player. Hopefully we're keeping Tremaine, so that would help a little bit. But yeah, I'd say one of those two would maybe help fill the gap a little bit. But it's always a risk with someone fresh out of college too.
Yeah, it's always a risk. It's a risk period, whether you're out of college or a free agent, because injuries still do happen. But you want to bring a person in that's going to be an immediate impact, and the Bills definitely do have a few holes. So, Torch, what do you think the Bills should draft? Who do you think they should draft, position or player? What do you think they should go after in the draft at pick 27?
Well, first and foremost, right off the jump, I'm with Andrea on this one. 27 is not the sexy pick whatsoever.
Not at all.
she also mentioned safety. And if we talking about safeties, I like a guy like Antonio Johnson, somebody who's ball hawking, Texas A&M. Antonio Johnson, ball hawks. He can get to you in short yardage. He can cover the field. He'll hit you. Uh, Similar to, I mean, I wouldn't say Micah Hyde, but he does have aspirations like a Troy Polamalu type of guy who will hit you in the run game. He'll come up, put a licking on you in the pass game and cover pretty well. So, I mean, that might address the Jordan Hoyer issue if you want. Save $12 million, go get you a young guy from Texas A&M, immediate impact guy. So, I mean, that's a start.
Yeah, that's definitely a starter. You know, he's definitely a guy that I have on my board. Antonio Johnson. He's a safety that can play corner if need be. And, you know, he's 6'3" and he's 200 pounds. So, you know, again, that length and that size and that physicality that's been lacking in this Bills defense is definitely worthy of a replacement for Jordan Poyer if need be at pick 27. Wide receiver. I like that too because we got to give Josh Allen some weapons, and you know, in the presser versus with Brandon Bean, you know, he talked about that. You know, getting more weapons at receiver for him. A guy that I like, you know, Jordan Addison, you know, from out of USC, you know, by way of Pitt, from Maryland, you know, so maybe that's those Maryland ties that about well when you comparing him or combining him with Stephon Diggs. You know, he's a great route runner. Has soft hands. He was the Fred Biletnikoff, trophy winner as a junior with over 100 catches at Pitt, and I think that again he can run all the routes. So you know you can line him up on the outside. You can line him up at slot as well. And so you know, a guy like that, you know, he can definitely be an impact, and he can be a safety valve for Josh Allen as well at pick 27. A luxury pick that I think that, you know, a lot of people don't really have on the radar, but I don't know. I for some strange reason, knowing the Bills scheme of things, I'm really high on Darnell Washington, tight end from Georgia. I mean, you know, when you look at this specimen of a player, 6'7", 270 pounds, you know, runs a 4.6, and basically he was Georgia's fullback. And he fits perfectly in Ken Dorsey's scheme. Obviously, you know, what I saw what the Bills was trying to do with OJ Howard in training camp definitely fits the mold of what Darnell Washington can do. And you look at a guy who's just nothing but a physical specimen. He loves to block, being 6'7", 270 pounds, and he can run with the best of them. Now, you put that together with a hybrid tight end and Dawson Knox and 12 personnel, and that's going to be a problem. So pick 27, maybe you look at a guy like that, you know, to come help your offense in that 12 personnel a little bit there. So keep your eye on Darnell Washington. If we're going to go offensive lineman, how about a guy like Osiris Torrance from Florida? You know, 6'4", 345 pounds as a mauler. And, you know, he's real physical in the interior side. And, you know, he can play on the outside as well. So the Bills love those linemen that can play guard, they can play tackle. They like those interchangeable type of players. So I think the Bills definitely do need to get young in certain areas in those positions instead of going the old head route. And you know, get young, get more explosive, get a little bit more dynamic on both sides of the ball, because that's what I think the Bills is lacking. The Bills are lacking playmakers on both sides of the ball, and they have to address that, you know, going forward in this year's draft. So wide receiver, safety, tight end number 2 for Dawson Knox. Even though I think Quentin Morris had a solid season, they just didn't really throw the guy the ball enough. And you know, that interior alignment. So those are four four position groups that the Bills need to look for. I don't think the Bills go and address linebacker in the draft enough. The Bills address linebacker at pick 27, then that Tremaine Edmonds is gone there. So I think the Bills got way too much time invested in Tremaine Edmonds to let him go, but they still need a seasoned linebacker. So that's where I say safety, wide receiver, tight end is my luxury pick, and interior lineman. Let's not forget that the Bills may go D tackle here, but when you got Tim Settle, Daquan Jones still under contract, you still have Ed Oliver. They picked up the option on Ed this year, so I don't think the Bills go first round for a D tackle. Even though I know Coach McDermott loved D tackles. If you go all the way back to Carolina, he drafted defensive tackles at 3 straight years, back to back to back. So Bills do have some problems up front. We're just going to have to see how they address those. So, um, you know, it's just amazing just to see that, this season is really over now. And it's kind of catching everybody off guard to figure out, like, damn, I didn't think that the Bills had these many damn holes, in the team that's supposed to be so good, right? For the Bills to have one of the best rosters in the NFL now is like so many holes to fill. Andrea, what are your thoughts on that regard? How the Bills go from having one of the best rosters in the NFL, not completing that goal, but now have so many holes to fill on this roster?
Um, I mean, I guess my overall thoughts on that is, I mean, it makes me a bit nervous, honestly. We're a championship caliber team, have an amazing roster. We're definitely Super Bowl picks heading into this past season. A lot of people were predicting the Bills could even win the Super Bowl. So now it's like, we're taking a step back. We have a roster kind of just looks like Swiss cheese, right? Like there's holes that we need to fill. So it definitely makes me nervous. I mean, I trust, McDermott and what him and Bean are going to try to come up with there, but um it definitely just makes me nervous and like, I don't want to be the person that says our Super Bowl window is closing, but you know, it's not like we need to rebuild right now, but it could be heading in that direction, and if we're not getting it together in the next year or two. So, yeah, I think nervous is really the big thing that I'm feeling, and hopefully we can pull it together and, be AFC East champions again next year and make it to the playoffs and, try to go all the way again. So, fingers crossed we can do that, but yeah, I'm very uneasy about it right now.
Very uneasy. So if the Bills have to make some moves to juggle this roster, maybe it is to free up cap space, or maybe it's to get extra draft capital. Who on this team, who on this roster right now that that's coming back gives the Bills any type of trade capital? Who would you trade
Trade?
if you had to make a trade? Who you think is trade bait on this roster?
Oh boy. That's a tough question. Um, I mean, I feel like one of the obvious answers here would be Poyer. I mean, we said he's getting old. I mean, if he's going to continue playing, and I assume he will, I feel like he definitely is, one that's going to be one of the first to go. And I don't think it's going to free up a ton of cap space, but I mean, it's something there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely something there. I mean, the Bills are going to have to make some type of, low level moves. It's not like a big splash blockbuster trade type of thing, but you got to start moving players around to create cap space. You got to move guys around to maybe obtain some sort of draft capital. It's just like the Bills trading away Zach Moss for Naeem Hines. You get something, before you lose a guy or you have to cut him type deal. So going into this year, production wise, how these players performed, and these guys are under contract next year. I think from an offensive standpoint, trade wise, I think you would probably have, if there's anybody that has any trade value on this Bills offense, will be Isaiah McKenzie. You know,
Oh, that's a good one.
I would think of,
I kind of forgot about him, honestly.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You know, you forget about him because they forgot about him in the offense. So if you're
Exactly.
not utilizing him to his abilities, why not trade him to the team who knows how to use him in the New York Giants? I'm quite sure that Brian Dable would love to have Isaiah McKenzie. He's under contract. You know, he's only, he signed a 2-year, $4 million deal. So it's a doable trade for a guy like McKenzie, and at least you get something for him, because I don't see McKenzie really being in the Bills' plans like that next year if he wasn't this year, with Cole Beasley being gone to the point where they had to bring him back. You know, so I think that you probably end up trading McKenzie to the Giants, to our little brothers over there, the NFC, and you get some sort of value for that. You might get another 5th-round pick. You may get a 6th-round pick, for Isaiah McKenzie, to where, we took him off of waivers. So to get any type of draft capital for Isaiah McKenzie is a win-win for the Bills. On the defensive side, AJ Espinoza, what are you going to do with him? He's entering in his final year of his contract next year. You got Greg Rousseau, who's developing, and you have Boogie Basham, who's so-so, but, they still got another year really to evaluate him. Then obviously you got Von Miller on the flip side of that at $20 million. So you're not going to pay Espinoza. Espinoza goes off next year and has a 10-sack season. What are you going to do with that? You can't slap a franchise tag on him because you got Rousseau coming up in his contract. You already paying Von Miller $20 million. So, you gotta move Espinoza right now. I think that he had a solid season. This is probably his best season as a Bill, but I think you need to move on from Espinoza as well. You drafted him in the 2nd round. So, you probably get a 4th-round pick for him somewhere. So to get draft assets, for Isaiah McKenzie and AJ Espinoza, I think that's very doable in the Bills' eyes. And maybe that's something to see in the near future, what happens with these two guys. Will they be on the Bills roster starting, the 2023 season? So those would be a couple of guys that, I would think about, as far as trade bait goes, in that regard. It just, with the McKenzie situation, they didn't really utilize him enough this year. And I guess the Bills thought that he was going to be the run after catch guy, but the run after catch guy really was Jamison Crowder. Right? Another guy that we forgot about. And I think Jamison Crowder runs it back with the Bills. He signed a 1-year, $2 million deal, roughly 1.8, for a guy whose market value at the point in time was 11 to 12 million. But he took a risk to, compete for a Super Bowl. That didn't happen. He ended up getting hurt. So he has no choice really to run it back with the Bills unless, someone else sees that value in him and want to pick him up somewhere else. So I think the Bills run it back with Jamison Crowder, which make McKenzie expendable to the point where you trade him to the Giants for a 5th or 6th-round pick. And again, with Epineza, you gotta move him, because you're not going to re-sign him after this year, because you got Greg Rousseau, Boogie Basham, and Von Miller. Who's to say that the Bills might not draft another pass rusher in the later rounds this year? You know what I mean? So I think those are two guys that the Bills can look to trade, just to get draft assets and try to free up some cap space as well. Andre, you joining us? We were just getting into my picks. I don't know if you heard,
I heard everything. Sir, first and foremost, Andrea, you allowed Mookie Hawkins to sit up here and talk about Isaiah McKenzie as if he got worth. Isaiah McKenzie, if he was an album, would go double wood. You know what double wood is? It means didn't sell. Isaiah McKenzie was definitely utilized the way he needed to be because he damn sure wasn't catching no footballs. He was the social media manager. It's tearing up my heart, making videos and in sync videos and stuff like that. That's what he was doing all season long. They utilized him. Now guess what? You ain't got to pay $4 million for a social media manager. Beat it. Beat it.
Right, but that's when you look to trade him to the Giants, to a guy who knew how to use him, in Brian Dable. You don't think Dable will love him? Look what they did with Isaiah Hodgins. They know what to do.
Hodgins is nice.
They know what to do. They did what they did with him. They did what they did with Isaiah Hodgins. Now everybody talk about, oh, we should have never let him go. You know what I mean? Sometimes, again, coaches know how to use players to the best of their strong suits. Dable did that with Hodgins. The Bills didn't give him the opportunity, just like now with Isaiah McKenzie. Last year in Dable's system, you see McKenzie, thrive. He was doing jet sweeps. He was throwing the football, for crying out loud. The Bills didn't run a trick play all year. What are we doing? You know what I mean? So you got to get rid of that guy. He's not being used right. So he's just collecting dust and at this point just getting paid. They brought back Smoke Brown and Beasley. So you got to move that guy. You got to look to trade him first before you cut him. You know what I mean? And I think that the Giants will be a suitable, buyer for Isaiah McKenzie's services because, again, he knows Daboll's system and Daboll knows how to use him. And his contract is affordable, right? So you trade that guy to the Giants and try to get some draft assets from him. You know what I mean? And Espinoza, you gotta do that. You gotta trade Espinoza as well. You know what I mean? So that's why I say Isaiah McKenzie. Yeah, he had a bad season because he wasn't coached properly. You know what I mean? A lot of players had, like we just talked about regression right before we even chimed into the show. Everybody regressed because of the offensive coordinator. McKenzie numbers were identical as last year, but in the fashion that he was used, it seemed like he really wasn't even used that way. Like he had one 100-yard game out of 17 weeks. That's insane as a running back, so they just wasn't used right. I mean, look at Josh Allen's performance in the red zone. The man never threw an interception inside the red zone until this year. He led the league in red zone turnovers. That type of regression comes with the offensive coordinator putting them in bad positions to make bad decisions. Everybody regressed. Even Stephon Diggs, he had a great season, but just imagine if they were consistent, he could have shattered Megatron's records this year. He had over 100 catches and 1,400 yards. You take away those 5 games where he was a ghost out there, he easily break Megatron's record for receiving yards. And it just all goes to the point of Ken Dorsey not understanding how to use these players to their abilities, to the best of their abilities, and get everybody involved all at the same time. You can't just say, okay, we're just going to throw the ball to Stephon Diggs in the first half, and then we're just going to try to throw the ball to Dawson Knox and Gabriel Davis in the second half. I mean, what type of coaching are we doing? You know what I mean? You should set up the plays that Stephon Diggs is having success on and use him as a decoy to find Gabe Davis wide open, to find Dawson Knox wide open. So it was just bad coaching from an inexperienced play caller, and that definitely showed all season long, and it killed the Bills in the playoffs. Bottom line. And I don't think it's going to get better next year for some of the players like Isaiah McKenzie to thrive in this type of system. So you got to move them. You got to get rid of them. What did you think about my luxury pick at 27 with Darnell Washington, the tight end from Georgia? What do you think about that pick, Torch?
That's actually a good pick. You're looking to help Dawson Knox, I see.
12 personnel. I mean, like I said, he was the fullback, and he reminds you like a Gronkowski out there. Very physical guy, doesn't mind blocking at 6'7", 270. And that's another guy that can help you out in the red zone, So His draft status is, I guess, obvious fine when you play on the national championship team. I was thinking more of a second round, but his stock is high as late first round to mid second round, and I think that that's somebody that should definitely be on the Bills' radar, going forward. So safety, wide receiver, tight end, and I did say Osiris Torrance from out of Florida, but his ceiling is as high as a top 10 pick in some mock drives, all the way to a late first round, early second round pick. So it's still early, and you got to wait till the combine to come out to really, once they start testing these guys and see how these guys do at the combine to really get an idea for whose stock is up, whose stock is down, type deals. And we're going to find out 30 days from now what that's going to be like. So safety, wide receiver, tight end possibly, and interior offensive line as far as draft concerns for the Buffalo Bills at pick 27. So before we close this thing out, Andrea, you got any final remarks?
About anything?
Yeah, about anything.
I mean, my go-to final remark, it's kind of sad, but usually it would be go Bills. But can't really say that anymore. So
Any
I'll just
final
leave.
thoughts, any final things that we didn't touch on that that you want to touch on?
Not really for this conversation, no. I think we covered all the appropriate things for now.
Yeah, she has the Bills blues still. She still has the Bill blues. You gotta get. I was sitting up here looking at my Facebook, right? And you get those anniversaries, first year, second year, and it's kind of crazy. I got Josh Allen, year for the past 2 years, talking about how you got to get better, or this is the presser that that they lost in the playoffs. This is the one that they lost in the AFC Championship game. These are the anniversaries. So the only consistent thing is the end of January, the Bills season is over. All right, it never goes into February. The end of January is officially the Bills season, and that was on my timeline not once but twice. Me asking Josh Allen, the past 3 years on how get better, how to become an elite quarterback, and all that stuff. So you go on my Facebook and Twitter and read that. So yeah, we still bumming. Bills got to get it together, and it's going to be a shakeup. Whether we like it or not, the Bills are going to have to shake this thing up because guys are getting older, and it's time to big guys farewell, and the Bills are going to have to do something to maintain that level of excellence that makes this team a playoff contender, not a Super Bowl contender. We got to just maintain that right now. So, Torch, you got any final thoughts or remarks?
Final thoughts for me. UB, get it together. The UB football team got it together and won the ball game. Now I need this men's basketball team to get it together. Talk more on that as the week.
Basketball team got to get it together. But my football, they just signed my guy Mickey Jacobs from University of Pitt. Hell to Pitt, by the way. They picked up my guy Mickey. He gave me a call and let me know that he's going to be joining the UB Bulls football staff. So I'll be talking to him very, very soon. It's my guy, and go Bulls, horns up, and all that. You better get it together in basketball, though. Got to get that together in basketball. So with that being said, for Andrea, for Torch Robinson, for Justice General, I'm Mookie Hawkins. I like to say, choose love, not hate. Stay safe. Wash them damn hands, man. Marcus, Cowboys is on the couch too, pimp. We out.